Hey, what's up, guys? I just watched an interview on ESPN's YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the comment section for you to see yourself. It is Dana White, the president of the Ultimate Fraudulent Championship, talking to Brett Okamoto after UFC 232. He said two things that I need to comment on. All right. Brett Okamoto said or asked, he threw out a couple names as far as who is the greatest of all time. He said John Jones, Anderson Silva, GSP, or Demetrius Johnson. Who would you say is the greatest of all time? Dana White says John Jones, without question, without a doubt. John Jones now. Dana White is saying John Jones is the greatest of all time when this guy has failed 4 drug tests in his career. 4 drug tests in his career. And this guy is supposed to be the greatest of all time. Just expose himself just shows how much they really care about PEDs and drug testing in the sport, man. I didn't say in my last video when I talked about UFC 232 being the darkest night in MMA history, I did not talk about how they are giving guys immediate title shots when they come off drug suspensions. Brock Lesnar failed multiple drug tests against Mark Hunt, gets an immediate title shot supposedly against Cormier when he comes back. And now John Jones, pops dirty. Hell, more than once. After he popped dirty with UFC 200, and he was suspended or whatever, he was out. He got an immediate shot with Daniel Cormier, didn't he? And then popped dirty again, and then gets another immediate title shot against Gustafsson. Man, it's a disgrace, man. Gus should probably fought some other top contender for the title, and he would have had his UFC championship in his career. Gustafsson, who has not failed any drug test. Think about it. He may never be a UFC champion because he had to fight a drug cheat twice in his career. Hell, and the second time, the guy failed a drug test going into the fight. If this promotion was ran correctly, Gus could have fought somebody in the top 5 in the light heavyweight division for the vacant title and probably won. A guy who does not fail drug tests in the embarrassing sport. All right, so that's an insult to Anderson Silva, saying that John Jones is the greatest of all time. Hell, I remember when they had that UFC top 200 list, when the UFC 200 came, was around. And they had the top 200 fighters of all time, and they had Jones above Silva as number 1. They had Silva number 2. Anderson Silva is still the greatest of all time in my opinion. Yes, he had a steroid failure. What was it? That was after the Diaz fight, right? And then he had another one, but he was exonerated on the second one. But the fact of the matter is, when he had his run as champion, he was undefeated in the UFC. There was no USADA. That it was a different era, different playing field at that time. And even if he was cheating or juicing at that time, hell, pretty much everybody else was probably doing it also. Well, we know what Chael Sonnen did. What Chael, his past and how he performed against Silva in the first fight. All right, so it was more of a wild, wild west mentality during that time period with just state commission tests, predictable tests that guys could pass if they wanted to cheat. But it's undeniable what this guy did, man, for the long run he had, the amount of time he had. The guy was 16-0, man, 16-0 with 10 successful title defenses. That's a hell of a run, man. A hell of a run, and you saying John Jones the greatest of all time. The guy cannot stay active. His 20s just vanished on us because he was so inactive. Couldn't stay out of trouble for one reason or another. All right. Now you got Mighty Mouse, who had 11 successful title defenses. He is the greatest champion in UFC history. 11 successful title defenses consecutive. I'm not considering him the greatest because he did not have the consecutive win record or streak over Anderson Silva. All right, but still another guy. The greatest champion who did not lose his belt over bullshit, failed drug tests, and hitting women in cars. Hitting runs and shit. All right. And then GSP, the greatest welterweight of all time. A guy who he has defeated everyone that he has faced. Even the guys he lost against, he beat in a rematch. Now, I thought he did lose to Johnny Hendricks when they had that fight. But, outside of that, the guy's considered to be one of the best ever and somebody else who did not fail a drug test. All right? Years of excellence in the octagon. These three guys, you are elevating, a cheater, a drug user, and John Jones over these guys, man. Shameful. Hell, he's not even greater than Daniel Cormier, who, in my opinion, is arguably the greatest of all time. His only blemish was against a drug cheat. Dominated everyone else. His closest fight outside of Jones was Gustafson, which he won, in my opinion, 3-2. And, a guy who not only, undefeated at heavyweight in his career, but also became a light heavyweight champion. He was a Strikeforce Grand Prix champion, and now he's the UFC heavyweight champion. Just excellence, man. And the guy has not embarrassed the sport, has not failed drug tests, man. But John Jones is the greatest of all time, according to Dana White. A guy who has failed 4 drug tests in his career, man. The first one for cocaine metabolites. All right. The second one was because of supposedly tainted dick pills. All right. Then the third one was this Turinabol or whatever it's called. After the UFC, the second fight he had against Cormier in 2017. That was the third failure, and now this fourth failure. What they said it was the same metabolite. All right, a picogram, whatever the hell they saying it was. Such a small amount. All right, but still, the guy failed a drug test, man. Even if it was some lingering shit, he failed. He should not have had a fight. All right, a drug cheat as a UFC champion, and then Dana White calls him the greatest of all time. Just shows how much the money matters to him, man, and not the sport, the integrity of the sport, and the company, man. All right. Now, what was the second blasphemous thing he said in this interview? All right, he is now saying that Amanda Nunes is the greatest female fighter of all time. Now, I like Amanda Nunes. She has been on the run. She beat Miesha Tate, she beat Ronda Rousey, and she beat Chris Cyborg all in the first round, all in dominant fashion. Yes, she has. All right. And I would definitely consider her to be one of the greatest. Hell, probably second behind Cyborg. But all of a sudden, you're going to elevate this woman as the greatest of all time when Chris Cyborg was undefeated for how many years? How many years was it? Was it 13 years or so she was undefeated? Yeah, undefeated for 13 years. And, only had one loss in her career, which was her first fight. She lost by submission. This was the first time she was knocked out. The most dominant force in the sport, for many, many years. She was kicking ass before Ronda Rousey and even after Ronda Rousey, who was a flash in the pan, who you call the greatest of all time when, we knew it was bullshit because this woman existed. And now because Amanda Nunes knocked out in the first round in less than a minute, yes, we'll give it up to her. We'll acknowledge that it happened. Um, Now she is greater than Chris Cyborg, and then when Okamoto asked about an immediate rematch, he's talking about uh, it was pretty convincing. He thinks it was pretty convincing. You see, I know what that slick shit is about. See, he never really wanted to do business with Cyborg, man. Ran Cyborg down. Didn't he say that she was Vanderlei Silva in a dress or some shit like that, man? Kept out of the UFC when this woman was excellent in Strikeforce. Kept out of the UFC. She was in Invicta fight in high school gyms and shit. You know, this dominant force in the sport, man. And they kept her out and then wanted her to cut down to 135 to fight Ronda Rousey. He was wanting her to kill herself to fight Rousey so Rousey could have a easy fight or easier fight, fighting a weight drained Cyborg, man, that she could easily defeat. Have a better chance against, man. To boost up Ronda Rousey's name. He never wanted to promote Cyborg. And also, Cyborg is near the end of her contract, if she isn't at the end of her contract. If it's not over after last night, she might have one fight left on it, man. So she will soon be a free agent. And she was talking about fighting Cecilia Braekhus in boxing. Unfortunately, that fight has taken a hit. Luster has fallen off that fight probably a pretty good bit. But when Joanna lost her belt, when Anderson Silva lost his belt to Weidman, he was saying rematch. Why? Because they were dominant champions. Joanna's somebody who he loves. Silva, he at least respected him. I don't know if he say he would like Silva at that time, but he respected him. He saw the money in the rematch. You telling me people wouldn't want to see a rematch between Cyborg and Nunes? Hell, I would. I'm not paying for any UFC anytime soon, but that's a fight, man. That's a fight that people want to see, man. Cyborg was a dominant champion for a long time, and now he wants to say that he thinks it was pretty convincing. He wants to elevate Nunes and just go ahead and discard, throw away Cyborg. Got what they wanted out of her. Got a big fight out of her. Got her to pass the torch to somebody who they like more, somebody who they'll do business with, more. Somebody that they probably think is more promotable or whatever, easier to work with, and just discard Chris Cyborg, man. Just kick her to the curb ball. Well, it was convincing, like, oh, she don't deserve another fight, like she's finished or whatever. After everything this woman has done for women's MMA, for the featherweight division, for the entire sport, being a pioneer of the sport, being undefeated and, showing excellence as long as she did, man. He talking about it was pretty convincing, Boy, Dana White has said all the wrong things, man, in the last number of days, man. He has been terrible, man. Absolutely terrible. Now, man, Nunes, the greatest of all time, and Chris Cyborg don't even deserve a rematch, man. You telling me it's not a big money in that fight, Dana? In a rematch with Cyborg and Nunes, huh? Of course it is. That could headline a pay-per-view just like it could have headlined this pay-per-view. So I just wanted to come on and comment on it, man. The guy's terrible, man. I lost a ton of respect for Dana White, man. Ton of respect for the guy, man. And, me being a UFC fan, man, she going up in smoke, man. I just, can't support these guys, man. I love the sport, love the fighters. But the guy running the show, decisions that they making, man, doing all the wrong things, man. We got a drug cheat, a drug test failure, and John Jones is a UFC champion now, man. And he called him the greatest of all time, and the guy failed 4 drug tests in his career, and they moved an event from one state to another to accommodate the guy. Oh man, and Chris Cyborg, she the greatest of all time, and now she can't even get a rematch. When Ronda Rousey got starched by Holly Holm, he was wanting to give Ronda Rousey a rematch. And then when the belt ended up in Amanda's hands, when Ronda Rousey was ready to fight, she got an immediate title shot, man. Now Chris Cyborg, I don't know. I don't know. That was convincing, you know. Don't even want to do business with the woman no more, man. Just like he never did. So that's it, guys. Yo, let me know what you think, and I will check in with you guys soon, man. Thanks for watching.